The girl was simply accompanying her family on a holiday, but she never expected to witness a terrifying scene. In the distance, a cruise ship, like a kite with a broken string, was rapidly speeding towards the shore. However, her parents didn't notice anything unusual. They thought the ship would stop soon. It wasn't until the ship was about to crash through the coastline that people realized they had to flee. Thankfully, the ship became stuck in the sand and came to a halt. People narrowly avoided disaster and fled in panic. Afterward, the male protagonist, Clay, asked a police officer as they left the beach and learned that there had been several similar incidents of cruise ships running aground recently. The official explanation? All of them were due to navigation malfunctions. Because of the near accident, Clay and his group decided to return to the villa they had just rented to rest. However, as they were on their way, they unexpectedly ran into a massive traffic jam. Clay's wife, Julia, immediately got out to check what was going on. To her surprise, this wasn't a regular traffic jam at all. Countless Teslas had collided with each other in a chain reaction. What was even stranger was that none of the cars had drivers. It wasn't until she saw the autopilot label on the vehicles that Julia realized the gravity of the situation. Sure enough, in the next moment, another driverless Tesla came speeding towards them. Realizing the danger, Julia quickly returned to the car and prepared to escape. Fortunately, Julia managed to change lanes just in time, avoiding the crisis. But the road ahead was now blocked. They had no choice but to turn around, only to find that more Teslas were driving straight towards them. In order to stay alive, Julia had to grip the steering wheel tightly, dodging collisions as best she could. They narrowly avoided a deadly crisis. But little did they know, an unprecedented disaster was about to unfold. By the time the family finally returned to the villa, Julia immediately opened her laptop to see what was happening outside. However, to her surprise, the internet at home had inexplicably cut out. There was no signal on their phones either. This meant that they had completely lost contact with the outside world. At first, they thought it was just a signal issue and would be resolved shortly. But even after they had gone to bed, the internet remained down. The next day, aboard, Clay and his wife were in the living room, drinking wine and playing with building blocks. However, just as Julia was about to refill her glass, she suddenly heard the sound of cars outside the villa.